Hello TENS people, thank you so much for having me along. My name's Matt Hart and I'm the founder of Better Ideas Faster. So good to be doing this little piece for you. Sadly we couldn't be together at the event, and so they've asked to do these little pieces to camera. And I know in these lockdown times we've all been sitting in front of screens a lot, and it's not always so enjoyable, is it? A lot of screen fatigue. And so I thought what I'd do for the little 20-minute piece I've been asked for, or maximum 20 minutes, let's see how we go. I thought I'd bring you out. We're in Auckland, we're in level 3. I'm looking a bit woolly, a bit COVID woolly. But I've, during this time, as I'll come to tell you, look, we've moved back from the UK and we're now down in New Zealand and loving it. And I've still been doing some masterclasses and some work with clients. And rather than just do a presentation on screen with a deck, I've been bringing them out to different places now around Auckland and doing it a little bit natural and a little bit wild. And there's good reasons for that when it comes to creativity and innovation. So I thought, why not do the same thing? I know, you may be seeing some of these presentations online and they can just be on screen, or they can just be a PowerPoint or a deck and take you through it. I thought, why not let's you come with me. We'll go for a walk out here at the beautiful wilds of Karikari, and we can talk about this thing of creativity and innovation, how important it is for our children in schools, and what that means for future-proofing their talents for our youngsters and next generations. But also the work I'm doing is supporting educators to reconnect with your creativity and your capacity to innovate, and what that can mean not only for you in the classrooms and schools, but for you personally, etc. So come on, let's go for a walk and we can explore some of that together as I get out of the van, and we'll walk along and get down to the beach and get into it. So look, as we start, I'll just lock that up. As we start, I'm just going to walk around here and then get to the track that's going to take us down to the beach. Let me give you my background just really quickly to set the context for how I've come to be doing this. So as I said, I'm the founder of an innovation agency called Better Ideas Faster, or BIF. And what that stands for is, the work I do has been, for 20 plus years, been helping all kinds of organizations, film, TV, FMCG, governments, just so many different kinds of organizations who do all kinds of different things, use creativity and innovation to solve problems, grab opportunities and create new value, both within the organization and obviously in market. So that's the work I've been doing commercially. But about 5 years ago, maybe more, actually more, I was invited to work with Cisco. This is how it started with me getting into education. I was invited to work with Cisco in San Francisco, who deliver a global ecosystem of technology learning. There's a whole story behind it. They fund it, they give it away to partner institutions who take the programs they've developed and offer it to students. And of course they use Cisco Kit to learn how to become essentially networking specialists, and they get a degree, they get qualified in it, they take it into the world. I teamed up with Cisco to start to look at the future of education and what would be required, and how critical to that education, or the future-proofing talent that these kind of kids who are doing their programs would need, is not just the skills of technology and using data. It was the skills of critical inquiry, creative thinking, problem solving, innovation. And so how could we marry up what I do with Cisco's technology programs? And we alighted on a proposition called global problem solving, that the future-proofing skills of becoming a global problem solver was essentially about marrying creativity, creative thinking, doing and being, with technology, and that would be the future that would underpin so much work and opportunities and careers that young people could do. So that's how I started. But as we got into that work, sort of Sir Ken's Robinson area of, is education really supporting kids and creativity and imagination, we started to look at the future horizons of what different levels of education would be. And you could really see that the need to really develop and nurture our kids into their creativity was essential. And I, at the time, had young children, young daughter who was 4 or 5 years old, and she was about to enter the education system. And having investigated it and looked at it, especially what was going on in the UK, you could see that as soon as she started school, that start would happen where she would start being slowly but surely educated out of her creativity. And I thought, well, I'm an innovator. I do this work around the world. Surely there's something I can do as both a parent and an innovator. And I, as part of my work, I train hundreds, thousands of people in the skills of creativity. Surely I could translate some of that and help nurture her into her creativity. But of course, how? How do you do that? Like, even as a parent, and my wife's a family therapist, etc., etc. It's like, is playing Lego enough? Is drawing, is reading creativity, etc., etc. Anyway, long story short, I lighted on this, and I better speed this story up. I started calling her an ideas girl. It really worked. It's kind of validated her creativity. I wrote a story about that. We produced a book. She went in and told her teacher that my dad's written a story about me. He asked me to come and read it to the class. And I said to my team, look, rather than just read a story, why don't we create something that I can do, like treat these young people like we would an enterprise project and do some problem solving. So use the story to inspire the kids to do some problem solving and have them apply their creativity to those problems. We did that, and it was a knockout. It was absolutely, I can feel myself get a bit choked up about it. It was really moving to see these kids grab hold of this inspiring story about them being, their superhero power was their capacity to solve problems. Read the story, said that they're all ideas girls and ideas boys, or BIF kids as it became, and then that they could then workshop through this process and then get all of them to present their ideas. A few were really up for it, a few were really hesitant, but as they all walked through it and went through it, the kids all presented their ideas. Anyway, let's speed the story up. So fast forward, I did it for his class, I did it for her whole year. I then did it for the whole school, 800 kids, however many teachers. I then delivered it in the classes and then developed a program for the whole school, trained all the teachers and educators about the principles behind that. And so it started. And so started this sort of where BIF has sort of ended up, focusing on two areas. Yes, still solving the problems of creativity and innovation for enterprises today, but now I'm really focused on developing the next generation of problem solvers for tomorrow. And so, you might have seen, I started, we moved down here to New Zealand, and I started doing, our kids started the school and went in there and met the headmaster Sanjay, and he was amazing, and we sort of shared some stories about what I'd been doing in the UK. He said, that sounds brilliant, why don't you come and do it here for us? And so I started doing some of that work, trained the teachers, etc., and had some friends at TVNZ, and they came and did a little show on what I was about and what I could be bringing back here. So that's sort of the background, but that starts to highlight some of the things I'd like to share with you about. I might get behind a sand dune here, it's a little bit windy. I guess what I was going to talk about at the conference was introduce to you this idea of these three disciplines of innovation. Let me grab, I'll see if I can get behind it. It is a little bit windy, and I hope you can still hear me. I'm sure you can. I did a masterclass out here for a client, and they had to write some stuff. I'm doing this DIY. I had a friend come out here, and a good friend of mine, Ian, film it for me, and I used the sand and wrote down in the sand. It would have been neat to do that, but let me just sit down here and we'll get into it. Isn't Karikari beautiful? It's just amazing to be home here. Okay, so I don't know how long have we been going? 9 minutes. So let me talk to you a little bit about the BIF method, because I think that's what I was going to get into a little bit, and about why and how that's so important for education. So when I said I've been an innovator working around the world in my own company, my own agency for so long, I developed a method for innovation that coalesced 3 disciplines. And those disciplines are fundamentally new ideas, people and their capacity to create and think and do and be creative, and then culture and purpose. And in this idea of really articulating the reason for being, the why of an organization, and using that as the DNA to create new value, both within and the way people work together, the coherence, and then having that be a line of sight and how that manifests in market to differentiate and drive new value. And so as I started to learn to be an innovator and learn innovation, there's a story behind that, but I ended up really fortuitously getting a role in an innovation agency in London when I first arrived there back in '97. Who knew you could have a job having ideas? And I had a very peripatetic sort of journey through my 20s of lots and lots of different jobs. Anyway, I got this job in an innovation agency, and I was under probation. There's nothing in my background could prove that I could do this, but I really connected with the guy there, and he said, look, come and have a go, and we'll put you on 6-month probation and see if you can prove yourself. And where I had to start was at the coalface of innovation, which is working with clients to solve their problems, which generally is around brand and product and service and propositions and what's happening in the marketplace, and innovating to drive new ideas that could derive new value for either customers or consumers, or, as I ended up doing, fan innovation. Over those 6 months, I excelled. I just found my fit in the world of how my sort of unconventional sort of way of thinking and looking at the world could find and add value to those projects, and the way that we would use process. As I started to learn that it's about translating the scientific method of hypothesis, exploration and discovery into a way that we can a process for creating new ideas and making the best of those ideas happen, which include insight and ideation and test and development, and then programs to launch those ideas. I did a lot of that work. I was very successful, and then you start to when you're working with teams and clients in organizations, what's really curious is people's inability to be creative. And there's lots of reasons for that, in terms of if you're using brainstorms as creative confidence not being the right forum for a lot of people to express their creativity. But actually it's more fundamental than that, in that we as adults, unless we know different and unless we invest in our capacity to be creative, it atrophies over time. Not only is it challenging to hold on to that creativity through education, as we grow older, the neuroscience, and so I got really fascinated in the brain science of creativity, where it happens, and the 4 different states of creative of brain states that inform both the way we think during the day, the way and the spontaneous moments of creativity, what's happening at night in our dreaming brains, etc. And then, so, started to do this work to sort of educate people back into their creativity and give the confidence to apply it together with others at work. And then the third element, as I mentioned, is this, how do you create ways of working for that creativity to manifest and realize itself at work? And that's through this thing we call culture. So the systems, the structures, the processes, the beliefs, the value sets, the mission, the vision, and the purpose that inform disparate groups of people coming together for a single purpose to do amazing things in the world. Organizational purpose. So I was working in this area of innovation around these 3 disciplines, and my insight was to see that they were inherently connected, that they weren't disparate and disconnected. And so I ended up setting up my own agency to explore the notion that you could, and this is what became the BIF method, you could connect those things such that you could work with people on and use the process of innovating new ideas is the context to unleash people's creativity and apply it on those projects. And as you started to do that work, you could then positively impact the culture from within the organisation about the way people were working. And that became known as the BIF method. And so I started delivering that for lots and lots of commercial clients. But what that looked like I started to realise when I got into education is that the BIF method could work to unlock creativity in the school context and education context in much the same way, both for educators, but then also repurpose that work to deliver new value for schools. And so what I was looking to do, and this is where it came, I told you that little story about my daughter and doing the early work in the classroom and the school context. What we alighted on is that I could cascade the process of how we come up with new ideas, the thinking of creativity, that young kids, are much more innately connected to that imaginative way of thinking on a daily basis, and then build out the culture and the purpose of why they might do that. I found a way to coalesce those three things, to repurpose proven BIF method, and enterprise and creativity and innovation, and cascade it into one simple sheet that we could put into classrooms and do workshops with kids. And that became BIF Kids, Better Ideas Faster by Kids. It sort of collapsed. So this idea of process, so we go from, kind of enterprise process into kids process, problem solving, simply, what's the problem, why is it happening, use those two things to BIF inspire a fantastic idea, and then how would you make it happen? And start to do maker sessions, to prototype those, to bring it to life, to draw it, to sketch it, to act it out, to be that solution. And then from that sheet, develop a curriculum such that we could blend in and fit with what the education strategies we're trying to do. So down here in New Zealand, what became really interesting working with schools is some of the government strategies about quite a number of things. Just to mention the importance of critical inquiry-led learning, the importance of local place-based learning, and anchoring kids in what's going on around them, and then also supporting educators to be able to deliver this and translate it in ways that work for them in whatever they're doing in the classroom. And so that's what we've been working on. My goal now is to build out a curriculum. I've been working with the UN and really interested in the Sustainable Development Goals, seeing them as sort of the to-do list of the world. These 17 big areas that the world needs to solve. And kids get really, I was quite nervous to introduce that to kids, but kids get really, they don't, finding a way to introduce quite meaty problems to kids in a play-based way that they can take on, localise it here. So an example with Ponsonby Primary, we've been doing the whole year, we've been doing Goal 14, Life Underwater, and introducing that in a global context on why it's so important, the importance of oceans to the planetary health, etc., but then localising that to the Waitemata. And then also working to, we've got this program called Kaikeakatanga, guardianship of the future. And so you're sort of weaving in local place-based learning through the lens of the Waitemata, a Maori worldview that's really important in Te Reo, and schools bringing that in, but bringing in that discipline of Western creativity and innovation, the neuroscience of thinking with innovation processes, and sort of mashing that all together into extraordinary experiences for kids. And so what I'm trying to do now is, or what I am going to do, is the goal for next year is to work with more and more schools to keep translating BIF and supporting educators to reconnect with your innate creativity first and foremost, to implicitly feel the benefit of that, and then be confident to take that into the classroom, building on the confidence you already have clearly. One is, and then secondly, to develop a curriculum that can facilitate local place-based learning. So we're going to get on the road next year around all of New Zealand, working with different schools who are leaning in. So anyone who's really interested, please get in touch. And we'll be delivering, capturing those local place-based workshops with kids around nurturing creativity, doing problem solving, putting it into the classroom, or weaving that around some sort of kaikeakatanga as well, etc. But capturing all of that and scaling that and supporting that through digital technologies. So as much as I'm absolutely committed to supporting kids' creativity through analog means, so they're drawing it, they're seeing it, they're feeling it, they're experiencing it, they're presenting it, to facilitate supporting that in schools and schools learning from other schools, I'm a co-founder of an e-learning platform called Sideways. And that's sort of this really modern learning notion in enterprises, that it's sort of not about the primary content. The primary content is just there for people to learn new things, but then make sense of that together in a sideways, horizontal, collaborative way to integrate that learnings. And so our platform is designed to facilitate that. So fantastically, next year the big vision is to take the platform, put educator programs in that platform, to capture the curriculum and put that in the platform, and then make that available to schools around New Zealand. So both for primary schools, we've got content for that. We've got an entertainment program around creative literacy for young teenagers. And then really, my real passion too is I've translated a 10-week mastery program that we do for enterprises into a 20-week, it's called BIF 101. It's the 101 learnings that I really am passionate about giving young people, year 13, I guess, and young apprenticeships, etc. The problem solving and creative and innovative skills of process, working through and understanding what process is, reconnecting with their capacity to think creatively, applying that through that process so they can accelerate the problem solving, and then understanding how that all works and comes together in organizations as ways of working. So that's sort of what BIF is. That's what I'm really motivated to do down here. I think it's really timely because having spoken to lots of educators and started to deliver this in schools, there's a need for it and a desire for it and a really open ambition to really support our kids in this way. I think I'll for a while stay outside the system. It's better that I can augment and support structured learning that's going on. But I really want to co-create this with you educators about how we can do this together, because it can only happen together. So I hope that made sense. I hope that coming out here and doing it in a way out at Karikari in this beautiful nation of ours. If I come around here and show you, the sea's just looking beautiful. It's offshore today. There's a bit of surf out there. Thank you for your time. And look, I'm really open to how this progresses down here in New Zealand. I think the idea of prototyping a nation, we got some traction in the UK, but it's so dense, the UK. Trying to get into the education system there is almost impossible. And we were going to start an after school club in the UK to get it going, and I think there's an opportunity to do the same thing down here. But being open and supporting you guys in schools, I'm really motivated to do it. So as I said, if this is connected or you want to know more, please reach out. We're developing a roadshow for next year in summer and spring to get out around the country and start to deliver lots of this in schools, and I'd love you to be part of it if you're up for it. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you, TENS, for inviting me to come along and do this. And look forward to either meeting or speaking soon. All the very best.